Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about the world first race. We'll be talking about Mythic Uldir. We'll be looking at all of the guilds that achieved world first kills on each of the bosses, what were the preferred tactics, was there any drama, and how it all unfolded. So first of all, a big mention towards Method. For the first time ever, they decided to actually live stream the whole Mythic first race. It was extremely exciting, and it was kind of conveyed by the amount of people that were watching the streams. There was a lot of people watching this stream. There were quite a few different viewpoints. For the first time ever, people were involved in the preparation and the amount of dedication that is needed to be raiding in a World First Guild. And I feel a lot of people agree with my opinion that I feel there should be more of this. I feel it was a really successful. I kind of hope other guilds will follow in these footsteps, where world first races are going to become like almost like an esport event where tons of people will start watching. Maybe Blizzard will kind of collaborate with some of the guilds and things like that, because it definitely worked well for Blizzard and Method. More viewers, more people watching the game, even people who don't play World of Warcraft. They were really excited about this, and there were loads of numbers released. But besides the success of streaming world first mythic race, let's look at the bosses, let's look at the top guilds, and let's look at some of the composition for it. Now, first of all, Mythic, like always, is launched first in the USA, and USA have a little bit of an advantage in terms of the first couple of bosses and things like that. So it's no surprise, because when the reset happened, when Mythic was released, guilds were going straight into Uldir, and the first four bosses, actually, the first four bosses were killed by US guilds before the European guilds were able to actually enter Uldir. So, but the first four bosses, including Taluk, Mother, Zekvos, and Vectis, were all killed by US. And if we look at the compositions and we look at the different strategies that were used for these four bosses, they were not extremely hard, and they didn't require class stacking, they didn't require extreme preparation. I mean, they weren't as hard as the further bosses, and it's no surprise, it's the first couple of bosses. So if we look at Taluk was pretty easy. There was not, like, I would argue that Taluk is probably the easiest boss. It's the first boss. There was no class stacking, nothing preparation, nothing needed really here. Now, if we actually go on to Mother, which is the second boss, there was quite a few surprises for this in terms of the bugs. So a lot of guilds lost a couple of hours, because when you go into the second room, there is a defensive beam that goes through. You have to dodge it. There's a little opening where you have to go, and you have to stand, and you're safe. Now, the bug that happened here is that when this defensive beam is first, or at least when you first can see it, you die instantly without being able to move in the open spot. And this is kind of like a visual bug. You're not really given the option of actually finding the space. You just die. And sometimes 3 people die, sometimes 4 people. It's so really random, and it basically prevented people from killing Mother a lot quicker, because Mother was really not that hard, but the bug was pretty bad. It was fixed pretty quickly, but even to this day, people are still experiencing some glitches with this particular bug. So if you die, you can just say it was a bug. It was a good little advice. But after that, we saw Zekvos was probably the next preferred option in terms of the bosses. Again, no real class stacking, no real extreme crazy tactics needed for this. It wasn't too bad. After that, you'll have Vectis, and Vectis was arguably the harder of the 3 bosses mentioned before that. The first 2 bosses, or the first 2 guilds that killed Vectis, were 2 US guilds, Big Dumb Guild and Limit. And after that, you had European guilds starting to emerge, with Method getting the 3rd kill, and followed by Exorsus and Memento. So this is where European guilds are starting to trying to catch up. Now, Fetid Devour was the first big gear check, and Fetid, there has been 3 nerfs to Fetid Devour to this day. There has been a nerf on the 11th of September, 13th of September, and the 18th. Now, the latest nerf that happened right now is kind of irrelevant, because the World First Race is over. But with the release, almost with the release of Uldir, Fetid's health and ad health was almost instantly nerfed, because Blizzard probably already saw this, that this is insanely hard. Like, you won't be able to kill this at all, so they nerfed it. Now, most of the guilds killed Vectis, and they were spending a couple of days on Fetid, and after like bashing their heads against Fetid, a lot of the guilds kind of decided, hey, we need better gear for this, and a lot of them started to farm Mythic Plus for better gear, so they have more DPS, more healing, and things like that. And then there was the second nerf that happened to Fetid. So guilds have spent quite a bit of time farming Mythic Plus, getting better gear, bashing the head against Fetid. They couldn't get it. Blizzard nerfs it. Blizzard nerfs Fetid the Barrow again. The damage, the HP of the ads was nerfed, and very shortly after that, Limit gets the first world kill, followed by Wildcard Gaming, followed by Method, and the race is on. So this gear check was kind of eliminated by Blizzard in itself because of the massive amount of nerfs. And I mentioned already, there's been another nerf to Fetid already to make it easier for the other guilds. So keep that in mind. This boss was kind of overtuned at the very start, and not a lot of people expected that. So the next boss, Zul. And you kind of would think Zul is going to be a little bit harder. Now, Zul is probably a lot harder than what these best skills in the world make it out to be, because Zul was kind of killed very easily. If you look at the logs, you'll notice that the fight does not last anything over 3 minutes. It's usually around between 3 to 4 minutes, so it's an extremely short fight. The damage logs that are available there showing like subtlety rogues doing like 40k DPS. It is an insane burst kind of boss mechanic. And how did the guilds beat it? Now, first of all, Metal gained the world first on Zul, followed by Limit and Wildcard Gaming. And majority of these guilds would have stacked subtlety rogues or rogues. Method ended up going with 5 rogues, 4 of which were subtlety. Limit ended up going with 6 subtlety rogues, and Wildcard Gaming ended up going with 6 rogues, 4 of which were subtlety. So stacking rogues was an extremely effective strategy for Zul and allowed a lot of guilds to actually kill it, and it wasn't much of a challenge if you have that kind of a roster where you can have 6 other players coming in as rogues. Now, Midtrax was a much longer fight, and there were quite a few surprises happening here. Now, first of all, Midtrax has a specific mechanic that happens towards it. If you've done Heroic, if you've done maybe Normal, I'm not even sure if it has the same thing. But what happens that you will get this specific mechanic in Midtrax called Oblivious Sphere, which means that you can't really be stacked at all throughout this fight, or at least the phases where Oblivious Sphere spawns. So overall, a lot of guilds end up benching most of the melee DPS because there's not that much space around the boss where you can have that, there's not that much space to be shared across melee. So a lot of guilds end up going with ranged, heavy compositions. And I compared this boss to Coven of Shivara's in Antorus, where again melee were not really favorable, and if you're a melee, you kind of wanted to go into range. So most of the guilds end up going with like 3, 4, 5 max melee DPS, and everyone else would probably be Affliction Warlock, maybe Beast Mastery, and Arcane Mages in Exorsus raid composition as well. But Limit got the world first Midtrax, and they got quite an early lead to go to Gahun and practice on Gahun. Now, Method got the second kill, and then followed by Exorsus. So it was the the usual 3 kind of battling out. It used to be before, Method, Exorsus were battling out, and Limit were somewhere close to there. Now Limit gained the world first, and Limit was ahead, and it was Limit's kind of world first race to lose. So this was quite early in the week. There were a couple of days to actually really practice Gahun, and from what I've heard, a lot of people said that Gahun was very killable in this first week with perfect play and perfect optimization, but it was not killed. There were quite a few wipes that people reported saying there was like a couple of 1 or 2% wipes. So I'm not sure how true that is, but apparently it was very, very close. So no one killed Gahun before the reset. Now what happens after the reset? And this is a big, big deal. And I have to mention this because it affects the race quite a lot. Now, you have an option of extending your raid lockout. For the people who don't know what extending raid lockout means, is that basically if you're progressing a Gahun and you don't want to re-clear the whole of Uldir all over again, you want to go back to Gahun straight away, you can do that. You don't have to kill the other bosses. The disadvantage of this is that you don't get to kill the previous bosses, you don't get to clear Uldir, which gives you gear. And gear makes bosses easier. So Limit decided to extend the raid lockout and go back to Gahun straight away, while Method decided to re-clear it, get better gear and things like that. And a couple of things happened before the reset or during the reset. First of all, there was a Vantus rune nerf, which was quite considerable because I'm pretty sure Limit and Method were both gonna use Vantus runes on Gahun, and that means extra DPS, extra healing, tanking and things like that. So But Blizzard nerfed that right before the raid lockout, nerfed some of the Azeroth traits. And basically there was also a GM of Limit who tweeted about their progress. They had like a 1% wipe with like 600k HP left, and they were basically saying that they were kind of thrown by the Vantus rune nerf and things like that. So it was extremely close, but Method ended up getting the kill couple of hours before Limit actually got the kill. I mean, this could have been so different. This was extremely close. I almost expected Limit to get a kill here, because right before the weekly reset, Method kind of mentioned there were streams from a couple of Method streamers and things like that. They mentioned that one of the main healers was actually going back to work the next day. I mean, professional gamers or best players in the world do have jobs. So they were not gonna have this healer who was extremely good, and they were kind of, you know, doubting the chances of getting the world first, because they were going to use a Retribution Paladin who plays main DPS to swap over to Holy. So it wasn't the most optimal comp, but they end up getting the world first anyway. So congratulations to Method, congratulations to Limit for doing so well. When this video was made, there's only 2 guilds that have killed Cahoon, so we're still waiting for the 3rd and the 4th and things like that. But congratulations, I'm extremely happy to see that the streaming was so successful, and seeing that World of Warcraft is growing in terms of people getting to experience world first attempts, experience what it's like to be a world first raider and things like that. I like to hear opinions about everything what I've said about the guilds, your favorite guilds, which boss you felt was really cool to watch and things like that. Let me know. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next guide.